Have you ever had one of those nights when your mind just refuses to rest? You lie in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every mistake, every conversation, every what if. Your body is exhausted, but your thoughts are running a marathon you never signed up for. And no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to stop thinking. I've been there too. A few years ago, a friend of mine went through a breakup, and he told me something that stuck. He said, "It wasn't the loss that broke me, it was my own mind. I kept replaying it again and again until I couldn't breathe." That's what overthinking does to us. It traps us in stories that no longer exist. We become prisoners of our own thoughts, searching for peace in the very place that stole it. The ancient Stoics understood this long before we did. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, spent his nights writing to himself, not about empires or wars, but about his mind. He reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And that single truth became the anchor of his peace. See, overthinking isn't about intelligence, it's about control. It's our mind trying to fix what can't be fixed, to predict what can't be known. We do it because we care about outcomes, people, the future, but caring too much without clarity becomes chaos. As a coach who's worked with people dealing with anxiety and burnout, I've learned something simple yet powerful. Peace doesn't come from trying to think less. It comes from thinking differently, with wisdom, not worry. And that's exactly what Stoicism teaches us, how to let go of what we can't control, focus on what we can, and find calm in the middle of chaos. So today, let's take a deep breath and walk together through 10 Stoic rules that will help you quiet the noise, stop overthinking, and rediscover the peace that's always been within you. Rule 4, accept what has already happened. One of the hardest pills to swallow in life is acceptance, especially when the past still hurts, but Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The past cannot be undone. It's gone." Accept it as nature's course. We overthink because we secretly believe that if we think hard enough, we can change what happened. But the truth is, the past doesn't need your thoughts, it needs your forgiveness. A man I met during a workshop once told me he'd spent 5 years replaying a car accident where he lost his brother. He said, "If only I had called him that night, he might still be here." That guilt was destroying him. The Stoics would tell him gently, "What's done is done." Pain is real, but suffering is optional. You can't change the past, but you can change what the past means to you. When you stop fighting what's already happened, you reclaim your energy for the present moment, and that's where life actually happens. Rule 5. Limit your inputs. Seneca once said, "You must withdraw into yourself, for too much contact with others will scatter you." And that was before smartphones. Today our minds are bombarded by notifications, opinions, and noise. Every scroll, every news headline, every online debate adds another layer to our mental clutter. No wonder people can't find peace anymore. Their attention is always under attack. One of my clients, a software engineer, used to tell me he felt anxious for no reason. But when we looked closer, he was consuming over 6 hours of social media and podcasts daily, filling every silence with noise. I asked him to take a 24-hour input fast. No phone, no news, no endless scrolling, just stillness. The next day he said, "I didn't realize how loud my mind had become until I finally turned down the volume." Limiting input isn't about ignorance, it's about intention. You can't calm a storm if you keep feeding it more wind. The Stoics practiced silence not to avoid the world, but to listen to themselves again. And sometimes peace isn't something you find, it's something that returns when Rule 6, journal your thoughts daily. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations for the world, he wrote it for himself. Every night he'd sit in silence and turn his chaos into clarity through writing. That was his therapy. The Stoics used journaling not as a diary of events, but as a mirror for the soul. When you write your thoughts down, you take them out of the dark corners of your mind and lay them in the light. and once you see them clearly, they lose their power to haunt you. I remember one of my students, a 40-year-old nurse named Claire, told me she couldn't stop overthinking after losing a patient she deeply cared about. She kept asking herself, what if I had done something differently? I asked her to try something simple. Every night before bed, write for 5 minutes. Not to fix anything, but just to observe her thoughts. 3 weeks later, she said, I finally slept through the night. Not because the pain vanished, but because she stopped keeping it all inside. That's what Stoic journaling does. It doesn't erase your worries, it gives them a home outside your head. Writing is how you separate truth from noise, and sometimes peace begins with a single sentence written in silence. Rule 7. Question your thoughts. Not every thought deserves to be believed, yet most of us treat our thoughts as absolute truth. The Stoics knew better. Epictetus often said, it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. That means, it's not what happens, but the story we tell ourselves about what happens that hurts us most. Let's say you text someone and they don't reply. Your mind instantly says, they're ignoring me. But what if they just didn't see it? What if they're busy or struggling with something? When you question your thoughts, you reclaim your peace. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Do I actually know this for sure? One of my clients, a young teacher, used to spiral after every class. She'd go home thinking, they hate me, I'm terrible at this. But when we unpacked her thoughts, she realized those were just emotions, not facts. By challenging her inner critic, she slowly built confidence, not by adding positivity, but by removing false stories. Your thoughts are like clouds, temporary, shifting, not who you are. The Stoics remind us, the sky doesn't fight the storm, it lets it pass, and so should we. Rule 8. Practice negative visualization. It sounds strange, even uncomfortable, but the Stoics practiced imagining loss on purpose. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortune. They'd visualize worst-case scenarios, losing their wealth, their status, even their loved ones. Not to be sad, but to be prepared, to appreciate what they still had. Because when you face your fears mentally, they lose their ability to paralyze you. I once spoke with a veteran who told me that Stoic visualization saved him from panic attacks. He said, I stopped running from my fears. I started sitting with them. He imagined what he feared most, failure, rejection, even death, until he realized he could still live meaningfully despite them. He told me, when you've accepted the worst, you become unstoppable. Negative visualization isn't pessimism, it's training. It's learning to love what is while being ready for what could be. When you can say, even if I lose it all, I'll still be me. That's not just peace, that's freedom. Rule 9. Keep your life simple. Seneca warned about the danger of a crowded mind. He said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Modern life constantly tells us, do more, be more, have more. But the Stoic way says the opposite, want less, need less, suffer less. A friend of mine, Jason, once had what most people dream of, a big house, 2 cars, a packed schedule. But he told me he was constantly anxious. He said, I feel like my life owns me, not the other way around. One day he decided to simplify. He sold 1 car, deleted social media and spent weekends in silence. A few months later he told me, I feel lighter. I didn't realize how much peace I traded for noise. Simplicity isn't about minimalism or living like a monk. It's about clarity. It's saying no to distractions that keep you from living deliberately. When you remove the unnecessary, what's meaningful finally has room to breathe. Overthinking often thrives in complexity, but when you simplify your life, your mind naturally follows. peace doesn't come from adding more, it comes from subtracting what doesn't matter. Rule 10, remember you are temporary. This might sound morbid at first, but the Stoics often reminded themselves of death. Memento Mori. Remember you will die. Why? Because remembering death teaches you how to live. When you truly realize how temporary you are, the noise of life suddenly fades. You stop obsessing over minor worries, stop replaying small mistakes, stop chasing things that won't matter in the end. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do, say, and think. When you hold that truth gently in your heart, it changes how you treat people, how you spend time, and how you face your fears. Overthinking loses power when you see the bigger picture, when you remember that life is precious, fragile, and fleeting. A woman once told me that after she lost her father, she stopped arguing about trivial things. She said, "It's strange, grief simplified my priorities. I stopped overthinking and started living." Memento Mori isn't about fear, it's about gratitude. It's realizing that peace isn't found in tomorrow, but in how you choose to live this single fleeting day. And maybe that's what the Stoics were trying to tell us all along. Your peace was never lost. It was just buried under noise, fear, and illusion. When you slow down, write your thoughts, question your beliefs, simplify your world, and remember your mortality, you rediscover a truth as old as time. You can't control the world, but you can control your mind. And in doing so, you finally make peace with life itself. Take a deep breath, let it out slowly. That's what peace feels like, not the absence of thoughts, but the quiet realization that you don't have to chase every one of them. You see, your mind isn't your enemy, it's just a tool, and like any tool, it needs training. The Stoics didn't aim to stop thinking, they aimed to think wisely, to pause before reacting, to question before believing, to act where they could and release what they couldn't. Overthinking is what happens when we forget that simple truth. We mistake mental movement for progress, noise for clarity, and worry for care. But the truth is, peace doesn't arrive when the world quiets down. It comes when you learn to be still in the middle of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And maybe that's where you'll find yours too. Not in control, not in perfection, but in returning to yourself. The next time your thoughts start racing, remember, you have a choice. You can feed the storm, or you can step back and watch it pass. Because peace isn't something you earn, it's something you remember, something that's always been within you, waiting for you to come home. So if this message spoke to you, if you felt even a small moment of calm while listening, I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe to Stoic Awakening More. Each week we explore the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, not as a philosophy to memorize, but as a way to live, breathe, and heal. Take what you've learned today. Apply one Stoic rule, just one, in your life this week. And when your mind begins to wander again, whisper to yourself, "Focus on what I can control. Let go of the rest. I am at peace."